listening to Sports Radio Detroit.
Hello and welcome back to Grave Discussions, your favorite, most honest, brutal horror podcast on the airwaves. I am your host, Barnabas.
I am your co-host, Samael, and I can't believe he just said airwaves.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
What is this, like 1932?
Maybe. No, it's 2018, and for good reason. One, because of the whole calendar thing, and also because we are going to talk today about contemporary, independent horror films. What do you think about that?
I like it.
Me too. my main exposure to horror actually was you might think like 80s movies and like older movies, but I mean it was really like, you know, the movies of our day. So, like, I grew up watching, like, The Haunting and shit like that, you know, like, that was, you know, around when I was young.
Yeah.
So, and just, you know, lots of other movies like that got me into horror, like, at first. Like, you know, and I've said this before, I think, or I've told you at least, but, like, The Shining was one of those movies, except not the film, but the TV miniseries, which I know is garbage now. But,
yeah, you understand that now?
Yeah, but that fucked me up, you know, when I was a kid.
Fuck that. The real Shining fucked me up.
I mean, yeah, it did for me too, like later. Except that I didn't watch it. I thought that the TV miniseries was The Shining, like when I was a kid, you know.
I felt like that kid on the tricycle while I was watching that movie. I was like, yo, these ghosts got me all fucked up. Like,
yeah. And then, you know, when I really got into horror, like big time, it was mostly off like more independent films, you know. So it has a special place in my heart, and I like to consider myself kind of like a connoisseur of it in a way. But, you know, I still love like all horror, obviously.
I don't know, for me, I guess these are independent films because I'd go to our local video store and like they just had the tape behind the box of the tape. Yeah. And they were like, yeah, $5 for 3 days, and if you don't return it, we're going to, you know, get a lawyer. Like,
yeah.
You know, I just grabbed those movies off the shelf. Like some of them were like horribly made. Let's be real, there's been a fair share of our horrible independent movies like Killjoy. Remember true. Killjoy, the fucking clown?
I mean, I would say there's definitely more like bad than good, but that's kind of changing nowadays. You know, the independent horror scene is really making a comeback, and that's something that we're gonna talk about. But yeah, what do you think?
I don't know. We'll see what happens with independent horror. Nothing's a set thing, and sometimes independent directors can fuck shit up, or they can do good. So I mean, if the movie's good, it's good. Yeah. I'm not gonna be like, yo, this isn't made by, you know, Ghost House Pictures, so fuck this movie. No. Yeah. But like, I'm just kind of hesitant when it's independent. Ghost House usually is
considered independent too, technically. We're gonna talk about all that though. First of all,
they're big though. You know what I'm saying?
No, I know for sure. We're gonna talk about that.
They're part of the big two.
For like horror.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose, yeah.
Because there's only two, right? I mean,
that's not really like
is Dimension Films that's still a thing, or are they gone?
I have no idea. Probably gone.
Yeah, it's.
But yeah, we're gonna talk about all of that right now. Though we're gonna talk about some horror news. We always want to keep you guys informed because I know that everybody doesn't always look at, you know, all of the news, and a lot of it is honestly independent. So
he's trying to say you guys are dumb because you don't read.
No, I wasn't really keeping up with it that much until recently. So. But yeah, here we go. So here's the very first article. It is about a title from Cannes, the famous independent film festival in France. I believe that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, French people are. Yeah, they're gonna make some fucked up shit. Yeah. Is it by French people?
This one, I have no idea, but Cannes accepts movies from the whole world.
I don't know.
So
foreign independent films are so fucked up sometimes.
Yeah, they are. So this one is about a movie from Cannes called Threshold. And the article states, describes it as a modern Minotaur horror story. So you heard right, the Minotaur the creature of legend.
Like Motaro from Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Basically. This film supposedly is going to discuss the myth, and based on this image that I see in the article, it looks like there's going to be a Minotaur. So
some shit's about to go down.
Yeah.
It looks good.
The actual like myth of like the Minotaur is really interesting to me. So I mean, I'm kind of excited to see what they'll do with it. And to my knowledge, there really hasn't been like a horror movie that centers around that. So it's cool. But the synopsis says Threshold tells of a group of graduating college seniors, I already like it, that find themselves stuck in the spooky residence of the college president after a graduation party.
It's always some shit like that.
Yeah. And then they discover that the house is a labyrinth and at its center is an ancient monster of mythology, which is basically what the story is. As they are eaten one by one, damn, they learn they are part of a ritual and must find their way out of the house by solving the maze if they're going to survive. So that's kind of cool. It sounds like it's like half monster movie, half like half mystery, you know?
Yeah, it's like solve this puzzle or this horseman's going to eat you.
Yeah.
So if you're not smart, that's just Darwinism right
or
there.
The bull man.
That's natural selection, bro.
Yeah. The poster looks cool. So, I mean, that's pretty much all there is for that story, but it looks sweet.
Yeah, put that in the bookmarks. So. I want to...
Yeah,
when's it come out?
I don't think it said. I mean, it was playing at Cannes, so...
What was it called?
Threshold.
Threshold,
yeah.
Okay.
So, hopefully it'll come out soon. Like I said, whenever the festival circuit's done for it, pretty much is when it'll be distributed, so who knows, but Cannes is usually like the last stop for a lot of movies, just because of its status and the world of cinema. So if this has a whole article about it and people like it, it's probably coming
hopefully
soon.
I can find it some way or another. I have my sources, wink wink.
Yeah, I know. So the next thing that I want to talk about is pretty interesting.
This is so fucking stupid.
I was scrolling through it and I was like, well, first of all, the picture got me, but then I was like, hold the phone, Dolores. Like, this is just weird. So it's about Cthulhu the musical. So
there's gonna be some asshole dressed up as a giant octopus monster.
Yeah, probably. So if you don't know anything about Cthulhu, he's this he's what's called an elder god. He was basically conceptualized by H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah, and he's in pretty much like all of his mythos. Maybe that's not accurate. I'm not like a scholar.
They mentioned him in the Unnameable when they were reading those old scriptures.
He's mentioned or hinted at in like a lot of H.P. Lovecraft's creations, and it's just this like giant squid face looking fucking thing with wings, and he's like green and he lives at the bottom of the ocean. He's like a god, and he's like related to like madness. Like he can just cause madness if you just look at him, basically. So it's really interesting mythos, and apparently there's a musical out now. It's had months of sold out performances in Ashland, Portland, and Seattle. Puppeteers for Fears, Oregon's only dedicated puppet musical horror troupe.
What do you mean puppet musical?
Puppet musical horror troupe. Like what? That's crazy. I don't think this props. Months of sold out performances. I mean,
So I'm gonna see a bunch of guys with puppets show us like some book mythos. Like, I guess. It's like, yeah, let's do it.
I mean, at least they're doing something sort of original, so I can appreciate that.
Puppet show.
Yeah, but like about Cthulhu, like
that's when you're scraping the bottom of the barrel.
I don't know, bro. It sounds like they're making money off of it, so I give them props for sure. Look,
I don't want to see a Cthulhu puppet. I told you, just some guy dressed as a fucking squid.
Well, it's a doll. It's like a doll though. It's a puppet. I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. I don't know if I would like go to see it, obviously, but maybe like a YouTube video.
I mean, I'll sit in front of a microphone and make fun of it.
That's what you're doing right now. So
thanks.
Yeah, if you live
I'm sure no one would have been able to point that out without you saying that. Thank you for insulting the intelligence of everyone who listens.
You're welcome, everyone. You're stupid, but no.
Anyway,
I love all of our listeners. So the next bit of news, you might actually agree with me in liking. Sam Raimi in talks for a new movie. Now, this isn't exactly related to our independent discussion because it's apparently going to be released by Paramount Pictures, or Paramount, or whatever, Paramount, which is one of the big 6 Hollywood studios. So it's not really independent, but Sam Raimi at this point is not really independent anymore.
I trust
obviously.
Paramount.
Yeah, I mean they're probably one of the better ones, and I pretty much love anything Sam Raimi does. So he's teaming up with a new director that I really like, Alexander Aja. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, something like that. He's a foreign director, and he's done a lot for the independent community. He was the director for High Tension. You've seen that, right?
Oh yeah.
High Tension. That movie is really good. He did the Hills Have Eyes remake, Piranha 3D, and let me see. He was a producer for Piranha. He was a producer for 2012's Maniac with Elijah Wood, which I really enjoyed. And let me see if he's done a whole lot else. Horns, yeah. Horns was excellent. Mirrors, I didn't really
Over the Rainbow.
care about that one that much.
That's a short from '97. Holy shit.
Yep. So he's been around for a while, but yeah, his best known films are High Tension, The Hills Have Eyes, and Horns. I think he's great. He's teaming up with Sam Raimi for a new film titled Crawl, and essentially it centers on a young woman who, while struggling to save her father during a Category 5 hurricane, finds herself trapped inside a flooding house, fighting for her life against Florida's most savage and feared predators, which I saw something about it, and they're basically like alligators.
Oh.
So it is a horror film, but at the same time it's more of like a real life horror film, like they're fighting or crocodiles or whatever. I don't know. It sounds like it could be good though. Like I like the concept. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm scared of alligators, but I'm not worried about an alligator being in my house with a knife behind the door, you know?
Yeah, but from what it sounds like, it's a lot of them, and you're trapped inside of a flooding house. Are you going to fight it while it's swimming at you at like however many miles per hour?
This should be like a 10-minute movie.
With that mouth? I mean, I guess they find a way to get out of it. Have you seen The Shallows?
No.
Really good independent shark horror movie. One of the best since Jaws, I would say.
Last, I think, shark movie I saw was Open Water.
Open Water was alright. The Shallows is actually like pretty actiony though, and I liked it. It had Blake Lively in it. I thought it was good, but that was actually a good example of like an animal like horror movie. But she was just stuck on this like rock, and if she can get away from this fucking shark in that situation, then I'm sure you can find a way to get out of a house of alligators. But that would still be scary as fuck. Like I would be terrified. If it wasn't like flooded, then maybe, I wouldn't be so scared. But still,
I don't know. I just think it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would expect Sam Raimi to like.
I mean,
make
he's
like
never
a paranormal movie or something.
Nah, I don't think he's ever gonna get to that point again, like Evil Dead, or even like Spider-Man 2, I guess. But that wasn't horror, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's big time, so it makes sense that he's kind of signing on for these like, and he's just producing anyway. So he's like, yeah, that sounds like a decent idea. Yeah, I'll fucking throw my money at it,
He'll probably just like.
That's how it is in the big 6
make
studios,
like those over the top, all that over the top shit like happen in the movie.
Probably.
Like, what if we add this? His head comes off, all this blood comes out.
But if Alexander Aja, his track record is good. Especially if he can pull off anything like High Tension, then I think this movie will be dope. But that movie was obviously like completely
Are you 100%
different.
sure it's about alligators though?
That's just what I read. I mean, it says Florida's most savage and feared predators.
Florida's fucking crazy.
Nah,
Florida got crazy people,
it's a creature feature, though.
That's the first place bath salts came out of, man.
It could be as fucking Floridians high off bath salts.
That's even more terrifying. In a flooding house?
I would agree.
I hope they can't swim.
So, yeah, be on the lookout for that one. Next up, we've got our terrifying trailer of the week. This week's terrifying trailer is going to be about a movie called Forward. and I kind of glimpsed through this trailer. It actually looks kind of interesting.
I didn't.
I know you didn't. It's going to be a blind one for you.
It looks good.
I mean, just based off of the off the picture, yeah.
She looks good.
Yeah. I think she's a demon. The movie is supposed to be about
Even better.
Yeah, two assassins who are hired to avenge their boss, and then it leads them to this abandoned hotel where they come face to face with a demon, apparently, and I guess they're gonna have to try to get their way out of it. Sounds like some
Night of the Demons shit.
Yeah,
that's why I kind of was like, ooh, a human demon.
Actually, look at how the guys look on this picture.
Douchey as fuck.
Don't. All right, but
is this Men in Black?
Yeah, but tell me they don't almost look like Seth and Richie Gecko from Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
George Clooney.
I mean, maybe that's
Robert,
what they were. Maybe that's what they were going for.
And Quentin Tarantino. Yeah.
Maybe it's like a little Easter egg thing.
That's what I'm thinking, because it's like, look how he looks. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't look like Quentin Tarantino quite, but his outfit at least. So anyway, this is a Spanish language film. I don't know where it's coming from exactly, but I just know it's Latin American television star. Might be coming out of Mexico. I'm not sure, but anyway, here's a trailer for Forward. As always, you can watch it with us and just listen to the video from our podcast, or you can watch it ahead of time or whatever you want to do. But here we go. We're going to play it and we're going to give our thoughts.
Tenemos 15 minutos. ¿Tienes algo más de información? No. Solo que le dice mi mago y le robó la novia al jefe. ¿Qué carajo es esto? ¿Sabes lo que dicen de este tipo? ¿Miedo? Bienvenidos, caballeros.
I went a little far, but what do you think about it so far?
I like it. I mean, I like the score, if that's the score they're going to use, but I think that was just for the trailer, but it has a nice, slow little build-up. We get a little backstory on what's going on and why they're here, so...
Yeah. And, it doesn't seem like... we've watched 40 seconds already. It doesn't seem like it's really given a lot of the movie away. It's just them kind of moving around, But we read you the synopsis, so it should be pretty easy to grasp kind of what's happening if you're watching along with us. But yeah, I think it looks pretty good so far. The actual production quality, I guess camera quality, is not spectacular.
It's not the greatest.
Maybe if I saw it how it's meant to be seen, I would change my mind. But so far, it looks not, incredible.
It looks like some 720p stuff.
Yeah. The lighting is like, pretty... Like, it's lit how we lit our shoot this last weekend. It was not well.
Yeah.
It was not well, unfortunately. But, at least it's, comprehensible. So, let's continue on. We've only got, 40 seconds left, so we're going to finish it up here and give our final thoughts.
Looks like a nice cheesy little movie.
Yeah, I see what you mean about it having that Night of the Demons feel, though.
Yeah. It has that cheese factor. I like it.
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of like this. It looks like this weird blend of Night of the Demons and From Dusk Till Dawn. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody else, but it makes sense to me in a way. But yeah, that looks cool. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch if there was a release date for that one, but as always with these independent films, especially with foreign films that are probably not coming to the U.S. right away, it's a toss-up really. But we'll keep an eye out for that. Add it to your bookmarks or what have you, and just keep up with that. It looks cool. I want to see it. So next up, what do we have?
The Cult Corner.
Oh yeah, and today's Cult Corner is going to focus on this, I feel like, little known movie from 1982 called Madman.
I think it was pretty good for its time. Like,
Yeah.
what were people doing back in the 80s? You know, there were no phones. There were no one was like really clubbing like that. You know, people weren't like, I don't know. It was just different. Like, it has that 80s atmosphere of every 80s horror camp movie. You know, like it just has that nostalgia feel to it. Like, you know, you're watching something like older than shit.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, like, why is it considered cult? I think because of those very reasons.
Yeah,
because it's just got that feel.
It's like all the cliches are there. It's pretty like I don't know. It's a fun movie.
Yeah,
and we get to see kind of like in my opinion, the inspiration for Victor Crowley. Like,
I would say that that's pretty accurate because you know, I don't want to give away spoilers really, but the actual killer has like these these overalls or this work shirt and you know whatever on, and he's just this like huge menacing like hillbilly thing.
It's like if Bigfoot was a hillbilly.
Yeah, like I don't even know if he's a creature or what, but basically the movie opens up at a campfire and there's this like older dude telling a story, so you already know it's gonna be good. And there's actually like a really good original song at the beginning, which I liked.
Beware the Madman Mars.
Yeah, I actually like really liked listening to the song.
That was dope.
I was like, damn, and I think it was the guy, like he could really sing. But anyway, they're like doing all of that, and the old dude's telling the story about this guy who killed his wife and daughter called Madman Mars. And he ends the story by saying, you know, don't say his name out loud. If you say Madman Mars out loud, then, you know, he'll come get you.
And then one of those asshole douchebag kids, he gets up, he starts screaming, "Hey, Madman Mars!" You know, because I don't know where they're from. They sound like Jersey people. I don't know. And then, like, he throws a rock through that abandoned house, which allegedly belongs to Madman Mars.
Yeah.
And then, like, there's these, like, shots of, like, in the pitch black, but then you see, like, they have, like, a close-up of, like, Madman Mars just sitting in a tree watching them all walk by. I thought that was dope.
Because it's just a silhouette. Like, it just looks creepy, and it's got that grain to it.
Bro, it was like 6'8", 418 pounds.
It's just up in a tree, and, you know, like, you see the kind of, like, bluish night sky behind him, and it just looks phenomenal, I think. Like, that was effective.
Yeah, it had that, like, dope 80s style cinematography to it. Like,
yeah.
I like those fading shots were so corny when they would like just fade out and then like like
I love when 80s horror movies try to do that, like fade out shit, like make it look dramatic.
Because that was advanced back then. You know what I'm saying? They're like, yo, wouldn't it look dope if we
gotta
put this
do
little
it.
fucking fade out part? They'd be like, we wouldn't have to pause the camera, turn it, and then click record again.
There were a lot trying to do that, and then now, like, looking back at it, it's like, you know, now it's a novelty.
It's like I'm glad we're over that shit.
Yeah, except unless it's a fade in or a fade out at the beginning or end of your movie. Other than that, it's like weird. It's like, man, like, what are we back in 1992? Like, shit, you know. So yeah, that was. I mean, I'm not gonna say it wasn't cheesy or campy or anything, because it definitely was, and it totally was on purpose. But that's why I feel like it's cult, because it came out in 82, you know, surrounded by all these movies like The Evil Dead,
Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Everyone was trying to live up to Michael
Nightmare
Myers.
on Elm Street, everything.
Everyone was just trying to live up to Michael. And then Jason came out. Well, not Jason, but, you know, Jason's mom came out. So, like, they invented this, like, all right, we'll have, like, they saw Friday the 13th part 1, right? And it was Jason's mom. So they probably made a movie like, oh, you know, what if Jason was alive, then this is probably what he would be like, you know, like a lot of movies like that. But this movie was supposed to be originally about the Cropsey Maniac, but then The Burning already did that, so they couldn't touch it, so they had to make up their own.
Is that like legit, or?
Yeah, that's the story of the Cropsey Maniac. They just said it's Madman Mars.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense, because
he's a real person.
Yeah, you can't just rip off a movie that was already kind of ripping off the story.
Yeah,
this doesn't make sense.
The Burning released their own interpretation of him.
Yeah, in 81, like a year before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could see it though, but
this was one of the first. Like,
great.
This was one of the first, like, you know, killer at camp movies, though.
It was technically, yeah. It was because it was 82, but you know, because of everything that it was surrounded by and its competition, it was definitely like overshadowed for sure. Like Lost in the Shuffle, you know.
Yeah.
Because when you think back, you think of all of those famous killers, but do you think of Madman Mars? Not unless you're us,
Yeah.
I guess, or if you've seen it and you appreciate those slasher movies that kind of went unseen for the most part.
They were just all, that was the wave of it. Camp killers, like they were just 80s. I don't know. It just 80s looked cool as shit. So I like seeing people from back in the day get murdered. You blame me?
No, I mean it was awesome.
Plus the kills were kind of different in this movie.
Yeah, they were unique. I really liked them. I'm not gonna say any of them, but there's some that you might consider kind of like soft almost. And then there's some really like brutal kills.
If you have Shudder or Screambox, both of those are $5 a month.
Yeah.
It's like the same app, just same era movies. They just both have different movies. Some have similar movies, but you could get Madman on both of those. Like,
yeah,
it's pretty dope.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out Shudder yet, a lot of the movies that we talk about on this podcast are from Shudder. So, like, we're not endorsing them or we're not sponsored by them or anything, but
they have a lot of movies.
Yeah, as two horror fans. To you, who I hope is a horror fan, you the listener, if you're serious about horror movies, definitely check out Shudder because you're just gonna have a blast.
They have a lot of newer stuff, but it's independent, so it's and a lot of it's foreign too and just dubbed.
And I don't know, and I don't know if you knew this, but I get the newsletter, and May is Stephen King month.
Oh shit!
So you know what they have?
What?
Creepshow.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Are they gonna have the Langoliers?
I think they have the Cat's Eye. I think that was one of them.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I saw it.
What else do they have? Something else. I think maybe Cujo or something. I mean, that wasn't one of the better ones, but I'm pretty sure they'll have more.
You think they're gonna put the original It on there?
That would be amazing. I don't know though.
I mean, that would be cool.
I feel like that movie is.
I mean, they should if it's Stephen King.
Is oddly hard to find on streaming services. So
I just bought the DVD from FYE.
Yeah, I know. I still have it. But. Yeah, definitely.
About that. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna watch it at some point, but yeah, definitely check out Shudder. Check out Madman. It's right on there. It's great. Unique kills. It's got that like cheesy, like blue night sky, like atmosphere. Like mood to it. The killer is great. All the characters are fucking idiots.
Yeah, it's great.
So yeah,
people get decapitated.
Yeah, and it's unknown kind of.
Basically, you see people that like you would. Like, you don't want to sound like an asshole, but, like, you wouldn't mind seeing them die. And then you see, like, these, like, really dumb people. Hey, I just saw a giant by the car. It's okay. I think you're just crazy, honey. You're just seeing stuff. Okay, that explains it. Then they start getting their heads pulled off.
She convinced herself of that because, okay, I'll just say this real quick. There was that one scene where, she sees him, like, ducking behind a cabin or something. And she doesn't even do anything. She's like, huh? For like 2 seconds. And then she's like, oh, well. Yeah. It must have been like a cat or something. Like, no, bitch.
He was like 6'8".
It's fucking Sasquatch.
420 pounds.
Yeah.
Just a kitty.
Yeah.
It's a big kitty.
It was stupid.
They feed him a lot out here.
But that's how those movies were back then.
But that was the point. Everyone was like really dumb.
That's why they all died.
You never see geniuses getting killed like that. I mean, if they do, it's because you snuck up on them. Like, like some Michael Myers type shit.
I mean, that dude probably would have killed the fuck out of me too, but at least
bro, what the fuck?
I wouldn't have made those stupid ass decisions.
Yeah,
if I saw that shit, I would have been like, yo, call the police right now.
No, I wouldn't tell nobody. I would let him have his fun. I'd get in my car and I'm going home. Fuck camp.
Yeah, I mean that's.
I came here to make sure kids don't drown and make food. I didn't come here to fight a Sasquatch. Like,
yeah, I feel you.
Back in the day, that was like $8 an hour. Not even, that was like $4 an hour back then. You get paid like $500 for the whole summer. Sometimes you work for free because you're volunteering at a camp.
Poor campers, bro. I mean, fuck them though, right?
Yeah, fuck them. Why not?
So,
I'm gonna pay to go outside.
Yeah,
live outside. Homeless people would be mad at you.
I know. But Madman is super cool. I love it. So definitely check that out. And Madman really kind of is an independent film, an independent horror film, because most movies
it's not
are
even
honestly,
rated.
I know. Yeah. Most indie movies are, for sure. And independent movies have always just been kind of like the backbone of the movie industry, I feel like. So, this is our main segment. We're talking about independent horror cinema. And it's something that I'm a big fan of. But back then in like the 80s and even before that, honestly, a lot of the movie business was heavily dominated by the major studios. But, the reason that you're able to even think of stuff like Freddy and Michael and Jason and Madman and all those movies is because it was independent movie studios making them.
Yeah, and they just had
You
and they didn't have a big following because they were popular
Yeah.
and they were like the mainstream. They had a big following because those were like innovative movies at the time.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Universal.
At the time, see how I'm stressing that.
Yeah.
Now, like, they've literally done every single type of slasher movie, every single type of paranormal movie.
Yeah.
So now, like, you can't really say they even suck anymore because, like, hey, either I'm going to recycle something that's already happened or I'm going to make some stuff that people are going to say either was really good or was shit because it was completely different from everything else.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Universal did the Universal Monsters back in, like, the 20s and 30s.
that was good, though.
That was
really
good, for sure. And then since then...
Frankenstein's monster, bro. That was the guy.
Yeah, they still milk those, obviously, those properties, but...
They have them appear as, like, guess, like, the same, like...
Yeah.
Like, the cartoon version of them on, like, Scrappy Doo and shit. Like, it's...
Yeah, I know. But, yeah, since the Universal Monsters, I mean, they haven't really been doing that much horror, honestly. They've just been milking their properties and doing some fucking reboots and shit, and that's really kind of it. Because once they got big, like, they just were thinking about the money. So really, it's been up to independent studios to be making all of these iconic horror films, basically.
Like, I'd expect them to be, like, bringing in, like, new ideas. Like,
yeah, for sure.
not just sticking to, like, the traditional stuff at this point.
Yeah.
Like, don't stick to traditional stuff, but, like, stop making every movie. Like, even independent films are guilty of that no hope type of movie. Like,
I mean, now I guess...
Like, now that's the cliche now. Like, everyone has to die. Like, there's
I
no
mean,
survivors.
not necessarily. I think that, sometimes you over-exaggerate it when you talk about that. Not a lot of horror films, even nowadays, like in the independent scene with the themes that they have, yeah, they're depressing as fuck, a lot of them, and a lot of them are really dark. But, not everybody dies in all of them. Like, I think if you make interesting characters, then...
I mean, the movies where the main character survives...
Sometimes they do live.
But sometimes the main character survives and he's, like, in a coma, or then he's just crazy forever locked up. Like,
I mean, I would say that you're right. That is kind of the cliche now. They're a lot darker. They're a lot more brutally
maybe not
honest,
everyone dies, but it always has like a very like the protagonist like didn't prevail. Like something happened to them.
Yeah, you're
like,
right.
They're still struggling even after the movie's over about something, and we don't get to figure it out until they make a sequel, and then by then they're just adding in random bullshit.
I mean, to me personally, I kind of like that movies are more willing to do that now, because in the 80s the cliche was camp, cheese. They were fun movies. Not gonna lie, they were fun movies. But I think that's one of the main talking points, is that independent horror films have evolved so much that they don't really focus on things like that quite as much. Like the big indie horror films that you hear about and that people talk about, they are movies with these very dark themes, these very brutal movies, honest movies.
You know what was like what really brought me back into watching horror? Do you remember those 8 films to die for?
Yeah.
That's what kind of brought me into it. I started like watching that a lot more.
I mean, those kind of fall into the same categories.
Yeah,
more or less,
that's why I liked it. Like,
I think it's just because as technology has evolved, our tastes in film have evolved. Maybe not so much the primary movie going audience, those casual viewers. That's why Hollywood is still dominating. But
I think it's technology, because how I used to find new horror back in the day. Now it's ease of access. You go Netflix, Hulu, search anything up, you'll find it. Search it on Comcast, you can buy it. It's that ease of access, and then it tells you like the rating and everything. Back in the day, you'd go to like Suncoast, like that DVD store. You see like new horror, $13, Grave Dancers, or you see it at Walmart, and then you're like, oh, this looks cool. You grab it, you watch it, and that would be it. Now it's like everything's there and everything looks just bad, because like there's no new movies coming out that are like front shelf. No one cares about Blu-ray or DVDs anymore.
It's because
no one gives a shit about that.
When you're independent, like, you don't always get the chance to distribute like that. But if you're a bigger studio, then you will. But there are lots of studios out there that are like directly under like the big 6 studios, but they're technically independent. They technically are making independent horror films, and a lot of them are actually really good. When you think of Ghost House and Blumhouse and stuff like that, actually I think Blumhouse is his own thing, but I want to say that Ghost House is a child studio of one of the big 6 studios. I don't know for sure.
I'm pretty sure.
But I'm pretty sure, and that's why those movies are out in theaters all the time. That's why they keep getting made, even though a lot of them are stupid.
Because you remember back in the day, every movie was every horror movie was in theaters. Like, they had some straight to
Well,
DVD releases like Cutthroat
some,
Alley
yeah.
and stuff like that.
I mean, the
but-
film festivals and stuff definitely were not as prevalent. But yeah, you're right. Like, a lot of it has changed. A lot of it is more accessible, but a lot of the actual filmmaking technology has changed too. You know, cameras are way better than they've ever been.
Yeah.
Everything is way better. You can fucking monitor everything. Sound equipment is way better. Everything's better. So as that happens, people want to have more cinematic quality.
Oh,
you know?
of course.
So,
But
and that's
I don't-
why I
I mean,
think
I
that
don't
these
always wanna
themes
see-
have.
I just don't always want to see like how intensely the main character is sweating. You know what
I
I'm
mean,
saying?
I mean, you won't, but you know, that's what I think that that's why those themes have evolved in such a way. Like, there's less focus on this like campy, dumb fun, and there's more of a focus on, you know, having you feel something. And
Exactly.
it's not every movie, but that is a lot of
For
them.
independent ones, yeah, it is, but not for like the mainstream ones, really.
There are lots of independent movies that are more fun than others, I would say. But yeah, like I said, a lot of the main ones that you hear about have these darker themes because that's how people are able to react to horror movies now. You know, like they've seen all that other shit. People have to feel like the despair and anguish and anxiety and all that shit to really like talk about an independent horror movie nowadays.
Yeah, you can't just be your typical paranormal movie that's
Yeah.
already been done, or your typical slasher that's
Yeah.
already been done. Because
The
people are
only-
gonna be like, "Oh, wow, this was the same as the other 800 movies about that guy with the knife killing people." Like,
Yeah, the only reason that those movies even get talked about is because they have jump scares that get those fucking assholes
yeah.
in theaters, and because
Fuck
they
that,
have more
those
money
get-
for marketing and shit
Those
and
get me in
DVDs.
theaters
You know.
too. That's why I fucking hate them.
I know, but you know that's why people even talk about them at all. If independent movies were more available to the public like that and more easily accessible, then I'm sure more people would be talking about them too. But it's really just the independent community that is talking about these movies. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that the horror community is as strong as it is because that's how I even get exposed to most of these
There's
things.
still a lot of horror fans, bro.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of them really like indie horror because it's not that same like Ghost House Pictures type of shit, Blumhouse type of shit. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's what I think about that. But recently, the independent scene for horror has kind of been lacking in the U.S. Like there was this period of time, I would say, between like 2007 and 2012, including 2012, so maybe like 6 years, where independent horror in the U.S. was top notch. Like it was really good,
It was.
you know. But in general too, like all around the world, like Martyrs was out around that time, Maniac. I don't know. I guess that isn't foreign, but you know what I mean. Like there were a lot of really good independent horror films out there for people, and since then it's been kind of lacking. But since like 2017 till now, it's come back. Like,
Yeah, I was
big
gonna
time.
say I don't think right now there's like a lack of independent horror films. Just
No,
like you said,
definitely
there's a lack of like people talking about them
Mhm.
and people like promulgating to everyone that these
Yeah.
are like out and like.
Yeah.
How are you gonna know if something's good if like if there's no hype behind it and then people
Mhm.
are kind of skeptical, and I get it, but like just watch the movie and think, was it good or was it bad? Like
Yeah.
you have a mind. Like just if you didn't like it, then it was a bad movie. That's simple
Right.
to you. Like people
Yeah.
try to overanalyze every movie. Did you like it or did you not? Was it good? All right, so why the fuck does it matter who made it? Like, you know?
Yeah. But I mean, I think in the US has definitely come back more recently because we have movies like Get Out, Split, and these are technically independent horror films, but they're not really done by Hollywood, you know, necessarily. So they're still out in theaters, people talk about them, and those movies are kind of bringing back indie horror. So now when we see movies on like Bloody Disgusting and shit, I always see people talking about those films like more and more, you know, and they're getting made. So obviously I think it's been kind of brought back in a big way, but for a while there it was definitely more dominated by reboots and sequels and shit, and those are still out there. But I'm just glad independent studios are out there making like original shit, you know.
I also agree because like everything's been kind of stagnant in terms of like imagination in the horror community. Like you said,
Yeah.
like everything's just been kind of rehashed stuff that's already happened, and then you got movies like House of the Devil, which I finally watched.
Wasn't it?
I thought it was old as shit. Like
yeah,
I,
it looks like it was made in the 80s, but it wasn't.
like it didn't look like it was not modern cinematography at all either. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like like 2018 like shots with a 1980 camera. It was like 1980 camera, 1980 style shots. Like,
I would agree with that. I mean, that's that's the way it was supposed to be made.
other than that,
Ty West really wanted to make a movie set in the 80s.
other than that
He did.
scene when someone got shot in the head and like you see everything blowing out, and it was like really like, it would have been cheesier in the 80s, you know, like.
Yeah, I know, but that's I thought it was,
But it was
such a
like-
good blend
it
of
was.
80s like aesthetic and costuming and everything with modern implications.
Like, it's
you
weird.
know?
It was like made in like '09, but you felt some nostalgia watching.
Yeah,
You're-
exactly.
You're like,
Yeah.
aha.
But I feel like it did have some modern cinematography. It definitely had that modern, like, slow burn, like that build up and the suspense. I feel like a lot of movies in the 80s didn't really have that. That's kind of related to what I was saying before about just the overall themes and way of creating a horror film now.
Oh yeah, it's changed.
They've changed,
Before it was just like, as soon as the credits roll at the beginning, stuff would just start happening to people without like a rhyme or reason. It was just dumb luck that these people happened to come across this demon or something. Now there's like a whole backstory into it, especially with like independent films. Like mainstream, it's usually like, oh, we opened this book, we read this, we fucked up, or we moved into a haunted house.
Yeah, it's just stupid,
Like,
simple
yeah.
shit. Yeah, I'm glad that independent horror movies have the creativity that they do, because they can really pretty much do whatever they want. So something like The House of the Devil, while the seemingly simple concept was actually like pretty complex, if not in its story, then definitely in its
Presentation.
structure and production just overall.
It
I really
seemed
liked
retro. Like
It did, yeah. I mean, a lot of Ty West other movies like the Innkeepers, that was a great one, great paranormal film, but also definitely a slow burn. But it felt like kind of old,
And it also had the stereotypical like protagonist ignoring the voice of reason.
Yeah.
Like when her friend was like, as soon as you said it, something felt weird, we get the fuck out of here. And that was weird. And then she's like, and then for some reason, right, she's like, no, they're paying me $400.
Yeah.
So she just got paid $400 to.
I mean, shit.
Endure
man.
all that.
When I was a broke college student, I probably would have done the same shit. Honestly, like, there's no one in the house, $400, big deal. But yeah,
I wouldn't have believed that.
I like the ending a lot too. I know.
Because like you see how he reacted, like when she said she didn't want to
Yeah.
do it, he like got up and like.
he was like offended.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it though. I thought it was done super well, and a lot of people in the independent community agree that it's an excellent film. It's kind of divided. I mean, just I think because of its pace and everything, and almost its lack of shit happening.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but I thought it was great. I loved the suspense. I loved the way it was shot. I don't know. I pretty much like most things about it. But it's movies like that I think get me excited about independent horror cinema, because there have been a lot. Like, I could name off so many good independent horror films, but it's really come back, and I'm super happy about it. So I really want to thank movies like Get Out,
Like they
and
rehashed the.
Split, and It Follows, and The Babadook, and all those movies.
They rehashed the Boogeyman finally again with Sinister.
Yeah.
Like-
Sinister was great.
Because I mean, the Boogeyman franchise kind of killed the Boogeyman, and then Michael Myers wasn't even around.
Yeah.
They just had the Rob Zombie a few years before that, and then we needed a new Boogeyman, and it was Bagul, the Sumerian Boogeyman. Like, it was great.
I really liked it. I mean, that was back when Blumhouse was like actually an independent company.
They blew
Not
up.
like the shit like they are now. I mean, they release some good movies. Don't get me wrong.
They
now,
do.
but they're
But they are
definitely
like the king of jump scares.
I would say, at least for horror, they're like pretty much at the top of the food chain, and they're almost considered a major Hollywood studio, air quotes, but for horror, along with like Ghost House and A24. But I kind of want to talk about A24. I've already talked about them a lot, but they've done like The Witch.
That was so good.
They're
I
gonna do Hereditary. That looks awesome.
The
Like,
Witch though, like it was like, damn, I had to pull out my dictionary. Like,
yeah, it was. I mean, talk about old school. Like,
yeah, the phrasing of
'cause
anything in that movie.
it was set in like fucking during like the Salem witch trials, basically.
Yeah,
so
and then like the goat
that's how
offered
people
her
talk.
like to teach her how to churn butter or whatever the
Yeah.
fuck happened at the end of the movie.
But I mean, that was such a like weird movie. Like, it was so metaphorical. It was super deliberate with pretty much everything that it did. It highlighted the darkness in this family, basically.
But you really didn't get to really see anything. Just like
Yeah.
the catastrophic effects of like, the main character like getting into this stuff, and then when she finally like goes to that coven and they're having their meeting, you're like, oh, shit just got real. Like,
yeah.
same thing. You don't get to that build up is what makes the movies good. Maybe it's not so great that stuff happens like maybe like the last 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Maybe the build up should be like more intense, but just less shorter.
I would agree. It depends on the movie, though. I mean, I think it depends on what it's trying to portray. Like, I don't think you've seen this movie yet, but I highly recommend it. A Dark Song. It's on Netflix. You've probably
I've seen the trailer.
You've glanced through it, yeah. Yeah.
It's on my queue.
I watched it pretty recently, and I really liked it. But that is a movie where not a ton, I guess, what you would consider as, you know, action happens during most of the movie. But that's not really what the movie is about. The movie is really kind of a character study because it's about a woman who is basically trying to get something by completing this like super complex ritual, and she hires this guy who's an expert on it to assist her because it you know, if she fucks up anything, then she could like have her soul ripped out or something, you know. So the whole movie is basically about them just performing this ritual, and it's supposed to be this like really long ritual. They can't leave this house or they'll like fuck it up, and not a ton happens, but really the action is between them because the movie is only about these two characters. So that's why I say it's kind of more of a character study, because there's this supernatural element, this grueling ritual, but really it's about how the characters are involved with that and with each other and their relationship during it, because they're both pretty interesting characters, especially the guy. So I thought it was really cool, just that the way that they like built those characters and just the overall structure of the film, and the ending made it like so worth it. It was really good, and probably not what you would expect. So it's just movies like that you know, prove that if you can really like make good characters, if you can have an interesting concept and just shoot it well, you're gonna have a really good horror movie. And you don't have to worry about jump scaring your audience, you know.
Yeah, you just insert more fucked up scenarios into the movie that aren't jump scares. Like, simple formula.
But they make you think, like, you're not
psychological
really,
trauma, etc., etc.
You're not really gonna be thinking about a jump scare movie. Like, honestly, I never think about like Lights Out, but I think about A Dark Song. I think about like It
You don't like
Follows.
Lights Out?
I mean, it was okay, but it was fucking. It was a jump scare movie, like straight up.
You like Don't Knock Twice though. That wasn't much jump scare, but that was like.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a good film though. Like, there was tension, there was build up. It wasn't just all
that
like
from
dumb
Independent
shit.
Studio?
I'm sure.
Because that was so fucking good.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. But I mean, I think Lights Out is a whole different kind of movie. It was marketed for the theater-going audience, like the typical theater-going audience.
I know, but it was really similar to Don't Knock Twice, except like Don't Knock Twice, I guess, would be like the independent version of it, where like no jump scares really, and it
I suppose
focused more on like the twist at the end. Like, you remember that big build-up to finally find out what we found out?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah, you're right about that.
I mean, like,
but I still think those are two.
I think
different
Netflix
films.
and Hulu are dope because like they're kind of bringing these independent movies to light.
Oh,
You see a lot of
definitely,
independent shit on Netflix, Hulu, even on Shudder, Screenbox, everything. Like they're for promoting them.
I mean, Netflix isn't really even like a major studio, but I mean, in a way, they are.
I mean, they're
really, not one of the big six.
I know, but they're like seriously like mainstream, like
streaming,
for sure. You know, like they're the guys. Like, no, I don't think cable make more than Netflix. I don't know, probably because they charge more.
I mean, yeah.
I guess more people.
I don't know. I would be surprised.
Eventually, more people are going to use Netflix and Hulu than ever have
I'm
cable.
pretty sure they already do, honestly.
I mean, I have all three and a Fire Stick just because, you know, I gotta spoil myself.
I mean, Netflix is definitely like a pioneer in it for sure. They're producing a lot of excellent Netflix originals, and a lot of them are horror. And I just read an article that said that they're going to try to focus more of their original films on like sci-fi and thrillers and basically horror as well. So I'm really excited for that.
I'm not opposed to having more comedy too on Netflix, comedy and horror.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll do both, but they're definitely going to try to focus on more like serious films, you know, which I think is good. Like, I just saw recently Ravenous, which I believe was a Netflix original. It was a French film, I want to say, new zombie concept. I mean, maybe not a new concept, but I like the film overall, and I think that's
Did you watch a
one of
trailer
the big
for that?
stepping stones. Not for that one, I don't think.
What was the trailer we watched last week?
Last week, Feral.
Yeah, that was it. That's
Yeah.
the new zombie one, right?
Yeah, faux zombie. I don't know.
I would call it, yeah, it's like some 28 days later type shit. Virus,
Yeah.
quote unquote.
I guess I would say that. But I just want to leave with my final thoughts here before we move on to our last segment that, yeah, I think independent horror cinema has just really evolved in, I would say, a very positive way. And over the last couple of years, it's really been coming back with just absolutely stellar releases that don't fall into the Hollywood trap, but get out there and just make waves. Like Get Out and Split and It Follows and a whole bunch of movies. And I could just probably name like so many, in a row, just great independent horror films. So I'm not going to do that right now. But yeah, let us know what you think about indie cinema. I mean, do you have any final thoughts, Sam?
Oh no, I think we pretty much wrapped everything up, and I'm just gonna stop being too skeptic because being skeptic is good. Like before you actually do something, I've been skeptic of like independent movies on Netflix and like just not been watching them, not giving them a chance. So I guess because I'm usually kind of disappointed. I don't know, but I don't know. I'm gonna check out more Netflix stuff and more non-Netflix stuff. I'm gonna check some like horror websites, like because what happened to shit like 8 movies to die for and those little like 8 film like just those. They would sell them for like $20, it's like 5.
I mean, I think they're really trying to get more serious and just do like their own thing. There's still horror film festivals and stuff out there, of course. I don't know about that one in particular, but yeah, I think, you're a huge fan of like cult horror movies and older horror films. And I know you like some more modern stuff, but I feel like if you were kind of an old head, like, you're just really into that cult stuff from the 80s and stuff, I think you just got to approach newer movies with a different mindset. Like you can't really go into them thinking like, oh, this is gonna be a fun movie, like, oh, what a cool like creature concept or whatever. It's kind of about more than that. Not everything, but a lot of movies have a deeper meaning for sure. And I think that's just the way that not only horror has evolved, but cinema overall has evolved with the times, with the technology. People want to have more of a personal, like deep feeling to their movies, which I totally get that. So that's what I think about it. I definitely say check out more, man. Like I can write you a list. If any of you want recommendations, I'm totally down to give recommendations. I think horror is, like contemporary independent horror is probably at its best spot right now since a long time. So definitely try and watch more indie horror, man. That's pretty much all I have to say about it.
I will.
Yeah.
I've been kind of neglecting indie horror.
Yeah.
But after watching House of the Devil, and then we watched The Sleeper, that was independent too, and like
I mean The Terrifier, that was an indie. There's so many good ones out there. You just kind of have to look. They all have different kind of qualities to them, but I think the actual quality of the films themselves is so high. So, yeah, to all of you, if you kind of haven't been checking out too many newer horror films because you're like Samael here and you're kind of skeptical, check out some lists, man. I can give you some recommendations. There's so much like gold out there. At least that's what I think. So, we're gonna move on to our last segment.
It's back.
Yeah, the chopping block. I'd like to keep this one relatively shorter because it has been a little while since we've seen this movie, but we wanted to talk about it now since we kind of noticed it was still trending on Netflix. It's a Netflix original film, so I think this ties in well to the indie horror discussion that we've been having, but this is actually kind of a horror comedy. You might know about it. It's called Little Evil.
Yeah, I remember seeing this, and right away from seeing that dude on the cover, I knew it was going to be like some sort of comedy horror.
Yeah, Adam Scott.
Yeah. He's never in any serious movies.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any evidence to tell you otherwise. I'm sure he's been in something more serious, but every time you see him on the big screen, you know that it's probably going to be pretty funny. And I liked it. It was an innocent kind of funny though. There was some adult humor, but overall I thought it was I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah, I don't know why I got 5.7 out of 10 on IMDb. People are so fucking jaded nowadays. It was just funny. It was
This is one of those indie horror films that can be fun.
It's a Omen parody.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, this is one of those indie horror movies that can be fun because it's humorous. Like, it's a parody. Like, you know, like you just said, it's an Omen parody. And you know, people who are approaching it in a different way, I don't think that's really fair. You kind of have to have some kind of awareness of like what movies you're about to be watching, you know. And Little Evil is definitely meant to be humorous, but it kind of does have some, you know, more mature, serious themes and undertones. Like, in the end,
you don't have to be who your parents want you to be. That was like one of the...
but you know, it's also just like family. You know, like in the end, well, I don't want to give any spoilers, but it's about family, it's about acceptance, it's about all of these things. You know, acceptance in families, acceptance of who your kids are, and just connecting, you know. So I liked it for those reasons, and just overall, it was done well. I mean, it's nothing that I'm gonna write home about necessarily, but
yeah, me either. But a lot of like horror parodies get a lot of shit. Like, everyone's saying, like, even nowadays, like, oh, all the recent scary movies suck. No, they don't. People just don't like watching like 5 movies in a row about mocking horror movies because it's...
Yeah, compared to like Scary Movie 1 and 2, they're not quite as good. But that, I mean, I'm not going to get into that. But, I mean, I would agree. But horror comedies, I think, feel in a pretty good spot too. I mean, I'm actually not sure if you've seen it, but Tucker and Dale versus Evil, that was a great one.
Seen it.
It was excellent. That was a meta movie too, actually. I know we talked about them last week, but with Scream. But Tucker and Dale vs. Evil was actually excellent. It was a meta film because it's about these two like hillbillies who start experiencing these teenagers in the woods, in the middle of the woods, trying to kill the hillbillies because they think that the hillbillies are like evil, you know, killers.
Oh wow.
So it takes you to the other perspective, but the roles are flipped. So I think that's pretty interesting, and they all die in these like stupid, campy, cheesy, like cliche ways. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But you know, Little Evil kind of did stuff like that too. It played off the Omen, I feel like, pretty well, but it made the main characters relatable and likable. And it was funny. I mean, I don't really exactly remember a lot of like the jokes or anything, but I do remember laughing. So
yeah, I mean, it's a fun little movie. Like I said, you don't have to watch a movie to be moved intellectually or in any other way. Like, just watch the fucking movie. Stop being so jaded.
Yeah, I agree. So for me, it's
like
definitely
a
not,
bad film is a bad film. This is not a bad film.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that at all. For me, yeah, it's definitely not chopped at all.
No, not.
So if you're thinking about checking it out, even if you're like, you know, a purist, like the fucking cream of the crop of asshole like horror movie fans, you know, like really stuck up and shit,
I fucking
watch
hate those guys.
Watch it, you know, because you're gonna like it. If you've seen The Omen, you like The Omen, or if you've seen any fucking horror movie from pre-1990 and you like those movies, you're gonna like it. You're gonna laugh.
It's the same shit. They just added in jokes. Like,
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, any final thoughts on Little Evil? I mean, yeah, it was fun. Like,
yeah, there's nothing else to say. It's a
Production
comedy.
quality was good.
I laughed, so that was that. Like, there's nothing really to elaborate on. It just had like common themes about family and being who you want to be, and that's about that. Like, but I don't watch comedy to learn lessons. I watch comedy to watch a fucking comedy. It
was heartfelt though. Like, you know, I can appreciate it for trying to do that. Because I think it blended them pretty well. It wasn't one of those like super stupid comedies. At least it wasn't like a rom-com, you know.
Yeah.
So,
fuck.
But yeah, I liked it. That's pretty much my final thought on that. Go check it out if you haven't. It's still trending on Netflix. One of the rare indie films I feel like that actually kind of feels like a Hollywood film, but isn't. So check it out. See what I mean, and you can let me know if you agree with me or not. But I think that pretty much does it for episode number 10. I hope that you guys enjoyed listening to us talk about indie films, talk about Madman, and all of the really cool news that we've talked about with you today. So let us know what you think. Any last thing, Sam?
No. Watch Madman. Watch Little Evil.
Yeah.
And start watching more Netflix movies.
Yeah, just more like indie horror in general. You know, pay attention to the film festivals. That's where they're all at.
I feel like you gave me an errand.
Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah, man, do it. Do it. All of you do it.
I'm gonna.
Watch more indie horror. It's great.
Kill John Lennon.
Whoa. And with that, this has been Grave Discussions.
And we'll see you next week.
This has been an SRD production.